President Trump touting the peace deal between Israel, the UAE, and Bahrain as the dawn of a new Middle East, while Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called it a distraction from the coronavirus pandemic. So does the president deserve political credit for brokering the deal, and is he likely to get it in this election year? We're back with Dan Henniger, Mary Anastasia O'Grady, and Wall Street Journal columnist Bill McGurn. So, Dan, how much credit do you think the president and Jared Kushner, who was his senior advisor and son-in-law and was a leader on this, how much credit do they get?
They do get credit. They're not getting much credit from the mainstream media, as we've been talking all week about this, that if Barack Obama or Joe Biden, a Democrat, had done this, CNN would be running documentaries every night for a week on the road to peace. There'd be a ticker tape parade up Broadway. That's not going to happen for Donald Trump. But you know, the more I think about this, Paul, this deal simply would never have been done by any Democrat. It is an article of faith in the Democrats, among the Democrats, that it would have to include the recognition of the Palestinians and a Palestinian state. It is an article of faith with them the way, say, climate is an article of faith with them, which brings up yet another issue, the fracking revolution that Donald Trump supported in the United States, put at risk the Middle Eastern countries' reliance on oil. I think they recognized they were not going to be able to sustain themselves. They had to diversify, and that opened a path to this agreement. All of that is a kind of transactional process that no Democrat would have pursued. So they're not going to give President Trump any credit for what he's done.
Yeah, Bill, let's push that, explore that a bit, because the president did some things that no other president was willing to do. Right? He moved the embassy to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv, U.S. embassy. He recognized the Israeli annexation of the Golan Heights. He pulled out of the Iranian nuclear deal. He did a lot of things that everybody in the foreign policy establishment said, if you do that, there will be war in the Middle East. We don't have that. So, I guess, what do you think? Does Trump deserve the credit, or should we be skeptical?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I agree with Dan. Look, the Democrats would not have done this. This is considered unconventional, but for example, the embassy move was something recommended by Congress 2 decades ago, and other presidents promised to do it. But it was like a lot of things, just empty gestures. Look, without taking anything away from Jared Kushner or the people that involved in the deal, to me, the greatest part of the deal was the Trump administration's decision to say, we're not going to let the Iranians and the Palestinians hold us hostage against moving ahead in the Middle East. And in so doing, they exposed one of the great myths, that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is at the heart of the Middle East trouble. We know that that's not true. It's the Shia-Sunni conflict, and the Arab states are not worried about Israel. They're worried about Iran. So we've kind of put this out in the open, and as you say, against all the predictions of doom and gloom and catastrophe, it turns out that dealing from strength, working with your allies, works. I mean, the Palestinians and the Iranians are more isolated. And you just compare that to a few years ago when, John Kerry was sending pallets of cash to the Iranians as part of their deal, and Madeleine Albright was chasing Yasser Arafat down the hall so that he didn't walk out. I think peace through strength is a pretty good principle, and I think the president deserves credit for moving the policy in that direction.
Now, Mary, is there a lesson here, maybe even for the president? This is because of the value of allies, because the president really stuck with Israel. He stuck with the Saudis. Under pressure, for example, in the Yemen war, he stuck with the Saudis, despite the fact that a lot of Americans in Congress wanted to basically stop support there. And that has paid off now in these countries feeling confident about American support. So they're more confident about that. They're willing to do this deal. Is there a lesson there for East Asia and maybe Europe?
I think Bill makes the point. The idea that you have to negotiate with authoritarian governments in order to find a solution, is dead in this case. And I was interested in the comments from the Emirati Foreign Ministry that said it is the end of the logic that says there has to be a Palestinian deal, and you Gulf states just sit there and wait until it's done. And they basically said, we're tired of waiting. We want to be part of the world going forward. We don't want to be part of the Iranian world. And I think by recognizing that, it's not just the alliance with Israel, but also recognizing that there are a lot of people in the Middle East who don't want to be part of what has been going on for the last 25 years with this idea that you have to negotiate with these authoritarian regimes.
Okay, thank you. When we come back after weeks of pressure from coaches, players, and even the president,